Rafa, the GOAT, that CNZ had such an incredible run on this very map. So let's see what game plan, what strategy ZenAku has got going as we're loading into the first map of the first series. It's ZenAku versus CNZ, starting it off on Corrupted Keep.
ZenAku just picking up the heavy early there, just standing his ground, just trying to see exactly what CNZ's going to be up to here. Decides to double back across rockets, but ZenAku now in a little bit of a pickle at the moment with the pushing through from the ALG area, but it's going to try and back away as fast as physically possible from that red room, but again just double backs, but gets a lot of damage done in the meantime.
That was a very aggressive push by CNZ, just jumping over the edge into the LG by ZenAku, even though he had him on the ropes. You've got to be so careful. Because LG, it kills your momentum, gives you a bit of a float, makes it a lot easier for your opponent to just track you perfectly and get a lot of damage out. Now ZenAku has managed to stabilize, secure himself an LG as well, but he's still lacking the rockets, and CNZ knows that he can push without being punished at close range, and that is going to net him the first frag.
Yeah, ZenAku trying to get that plasma rifle to good use there. Now CNZ just biding his time at the moment, just trying to discover exactly what ZenAku's going to be up to, but does find one of the totems in the meantime, and does get a mega for his troubles, as well as eating away at that last light. So going to try and be a little bit of trouble for ZenAku if he can, but actually got caught off guard with that weapon selection there, running out with the LG, which does mean that it will give ZenAku a slight edge as he's pushing across. But good rocket, good. Oh, the direct comes out as well, but in the end, it's all going to be all tied up, 0-all again, and that was a great push by ZenAku, knowing that he had the early advantage with the stack and decided to push anyway just to see if he could seal the deal.
Was indeed a very solid play by ZenAku. I think CNZ kind of messed up by letting him get out of the room so easily, because ZenAku didn't have the heavy machine gun. He couldn't really take that fight from long distance, whereas CNZ most definitely could. Now we're all tied up once again, 0-0. Not something you see very often. But hey, everything can happen. This is Quake after all. Both players just exchanging rockets from quite a distance. There's going to be very little delay between the items, so it doesn't seem like either will be able to get full control just yet. ZenAku will take away the Mega, CNZ will pick up the Heavy, and that leaves the Estonian player in slightly better shape.
And I love this from CNZ as well. He's got that defensive posture, but at the same time making his rotations to clean up those totems as he sees fit. CNZ a slightly bigger stack at the moment, does have to peek in his back pocket as he's going to slowly approach across here, but realise that ZenAku is still in that red room, does a little bit of damage here, looking to try and get a bit more if he can. The totem's still in that red room as he's directly above his opponent at the moment. But finds him, does a great rocket as well, good timing on that, and for CNZ he's going to try and go for the kill, and he does, and CNZ gets the early lead again.
That's the speed that the Strog has, right? ZenAku just wasn't ready for him to already be on top of him again. Ends up dropping a frag just before picking up the Heavy as well, so that allowed CNZ a lot of extra stack to work with, giving him the opportunity to add one more frag to the scoreboard. This is bad for ZenAku. Luckily for him, the shoddy comes in clutch. CNZ barely landing anything with the Strog Blaster right there. And so ZenAku will be able to secure himself a Heavy, get some sort of baseline going, but the biggest thing he's missing, Lethal, is that LG. He doesn't have a consistent weapon to take those medium distance fights, and CNZ knows this.
You saw that as well with the LG from CNZ, took 126 without any return damage at all, looking to try and get a little bit more here. Good rockets from ZenAku, does clean him up with the MG. And finally gets the first frag on the board. Heavy's up, so is the Mega. Not really too much in terms of timings here. In terms of the segregation. Does take down the Pico as well, but the problem is he's in a bit of a pickle again at the moment. Hasn't got the heavy machine gun to his name. Does have the LG, which is why he flew at him. And he will have that overstack, which is going to be huge. Now ZenAku, he just jumps over above him here, Fleet. And it's actually going to take him out. Let's see, 8 HP. Just a matter of time here. And CNZ must be thinking he was pretty lucky on that circumstance.
He sure was. That was a crucial misplay by ZenAku. He thought CNZ had already vacated the premises, but no! Man was just sitting pretty waiting. And one hell of a trap later, manages to get a frag on ZenAku, even though it was the Maestro player who had everything going for him right there. And now CNZ is expanding his lead. And Lethal, there is a fair bit of a delay between the items. This could be CNZ's chance to fully establish a first solid rotation. But hang on, ZenAku, the damage is solid, but the Peeker comes in clutch. And once again, CNZ escapes, but ZenAku thwarted his efforts to get full control.
Yeah, 4 HP. So unfortunate. If he won that bout, he would have got the Mega straight afterwards also, which is why he took that risk. And CNZ now getting a huge amount with the heavy machine gun once again, and just clean him up with the LG here also, even with that totem. And CNZ will be taking him out once again, and this is what I'm talking about. CNZ mentioned during the matchup, but he's been pretty damn good on Corrupted Keep, and he's definitely showing why he is one of the best players on Corrupted Keep, and why Rafa probably struggled quite a few weeks ago. But CNZ doing a great job just recovering, pick up the Mega, and CNZ, as I say that though, ZenAku did drop down, clean him up, and this could be a time for him to try and retaliate, or at least come back with some kind of revenge few frags on the back foot.
This should indeed be a frag for the Australian. And he has 3 of his totems up right now. He's got that overstack. He just needs to make his way over to the totem. There we go, 175 points of health. This is looking good, but the barrage from rockets from above. He's suffering, just 7 points of health, make it 4. Good thing he still had some of those totems around and available to him.
So Dennis still got this overstack. It's just a matter of just keeping CNZ away from these totems as well. Good rocket there from CNZ just to try and help keep this distance a little bit more. Good LG again from CNZ, but even with ZenAku with the heavy machine gun, he has to try and get out of a big hole here, but does manage to in the end. And does get a little bit more health and the heavy for his troubles here. It's just a matter of when really for ZenAku here, but even then ZNZ to pick up the Mega, try to do something with the peak. It doesn't get a huge amount done, but at the same time though, with the mobility of the Strog, not really too much ZenAku can do. It just needs to stand his ground and just bide his time.
Those totems have really been helping ZenAku out quite a bit. Damage-wise, CNZ has been out damaging him for the past 5 minutes or so, but those totems have really helped him equalize the playing field, and now he is starting to catch up. CNZ manages to take away the Mega, but he's got very little to work with in terms of armaments.
Still vote. ZenAku just holding the high ground, just trying to see if he's going to be contested for this heavy early, which he hasn't been as of yet. We'll have that next totem, but even then, though, CNZ's still trying to get all over him, but as we can see, there isn't much segregation with the timings of these items, but good catch with DLG as well from CNZ. He's been known to do this quite, he's done it at least 3 or 4 times he's done that so far.
Very solid positioning by the Dragonborn esports player, catching out ZenAku multiple times now. It's really working out in his favor. Now ZenAku once again has got 3 of those totems up. CNZ really has to focus on taking them down. Oh, he drops out. That's too aggressive. He is never going to get away with that. And now, all that separates these players is just 2 frags. CNZ caught right off spawn. This is so doable, ZenAku. He's bringing it back.
He's been waiting for this moment for quite a while in this matchup, but now he's actually got the opportunity to come back still. But the only problem is he hasn't got all the totems he has in the past with that overstack. This will cause a few issues, but the whole point of those totems was to help try and recover and try and get map control, which he already has done. The only thing he needs to do now, though, with these engagements is keep it as clean as physically possible without taking too much damage and not getting too overzealous here. Which seems like that's exactly what ZenAku's doing at the moment, but so far only a minute left remaining, needs to do something quick here. The Pika comes out, just goes straight for ZNZ, and to be fair, not too shabby either, as he's going to trap into the red room as well here. Flea takes him down again, and he's going to get the lead.
Not too shabby, you were right, but CNZ gets probably the worst spawn that he could have had in that situation. He managed to do a fair bit of damage, yes, and that would have given him a fair opportunity to contest afterwards, but then he ends up spawning in the red room with nothing but that heavy nail gun. And that was an easy kill for ZenAku, and now it is CNZ who's trailing. 30 seconds, 1 frag, he's going all in, but he can't come out on top, not yet. And now 20 seconds for 2. It's still possible, but he needs to take this fight now. And ZenAku can just sit here and wait, burn the final few seconds away. And CNZ, how can he approach this? He just has to rush. Plus forward, it's all that he can do. But it won't work, not today. ZenAku can just delay the spawn, and it will allow him to take home map 1 with a 1-point difference. Well played.
CNZ had the winning frag for like what, the 9 minutes of that matchup, something like that, and for ZenAku to bring that back, it was, we could see his game plan is just, we're waiting for him to get the initial moment to have full control and have the overstack as he sees fit, and we saw eventually around that 9-10 minute mark. And even then, that spawn trap on the red room was a bit unfortunate for CNZ. But if you force the spawns out like that, then that's the kind of circumstances you're going to put yourself into. But it's a shame that for CNZ, he played extremely well from the get-go. Was really, really decisive on when to take some of his LG bouts, but also trying to catch ZenAku with his trousers down. And he had done that at least 3 or 4 occasions.
One of the deciding factors in the comeback, I think, was that ZenAku was able to more consistently get his hands on the lightning gun. I was looking at the statistics, the damage, around 4 or 5 minutes into the game, Lethal, and ZenAku only had a few hundred points of damage with the LG. He had a high accuracy, yes, but CNZ was sitting at like 1,400 points of damage with the lightning gun, and that just shows that CNZ had been doing an excellent job at denying access to that weapon and not allowing ZenAku to really get into a rhythm and being able to consistently challenge those medium range fights, and that was instrumental to CNZ getting that early lead. And once that held up no longer, ZenAku really started getting into his own, and I think that that was a very important part of him being able to make such a comeback happen.
Yeah, it was just a matter of ZenAku getting into the rhythm, wasn't it, once he got the LG in hand, and also keep CNZ away from at least engaging or contesting that weapon, because we know how powerful it can be, but then again, ZenAku was just prioritising the plasma rifle from the get-go, and not really so much the heavy machine gun, just trying to catch him a little bit, just to force him away, or at least force him from trying to rotate from a different angle. We saw it time and time again, which is why he was prioritising that plasma rifle the entire time, but was a little bit worried, like CNZ, he was up 6-1, 7-1 at one stage, and we knew that for ZenAku, the only way he was going to come back is with the overstack and also making the right plays, the right decisions at the right times, and also trying to get as many of those items as physically possible, which he has managed to do throughout the majority of that last part of the match. Probably the last 2 or 3 minutes here, but you can see for CNZ, sadly, he got a little bit desperate, couldn't really use the mobility to its full factor, but crazy stuff though, like going from 6-7-1 down to be able to reclaim and actually come back from that.
Yeah, I think there were also a few situations where CNZ definitely overplayed his hand, right? There were, I think, 3, maybe 4 situations where CNZ really just challenged ZenAku, dropping down onto the LG from around the heavy area, pushing for Mega off spawn when all he had was the machine gun and ZenAku was already in the room. Those are free frags that he was giving up to his opponent, even when he had the greater mobility. So, bit of a mix of factors, as it always is, that ended up deciding map 1 in favor of ZenAku, but that is all done and dusted. This is map 2, and we have 2 very fast, light, squishy champions going up against each other. ZenAku running Slash versus CNZ on next.
Love a bit of Slash me Flea. We're going to see exactly how he's going to do against CNZ's Nyx here, and it's going to be a very calculated matchup to begin with. Oh, you can see there, at least try to catch in there, hit the first rail, but he's going to try and go for the second, which he does. Will he be able to make it the third? Yes, he does! And that was exactly the start CNZ was looking for.
ZenAku may have really hurt himself with that opening play. He was delaying Mega. He delayed Mega by nearly 10 full seconds, Lethal. But now, CNZ, after landing those 3 rails in a row, can now just kind of take over the rotation that ZenAku had started. Luckily for him, CNZ left up the heavy, so that gives him a lot of starting stack, but that went disastrously wrong.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate there. Again, the item's not heavily segregated, so whoever loses out on this next bout, it's not going to be too much of an issue. Still trying to get a little bit of damage with those rockets, but hasn't found anything as of yet. But there isn't going to be a gentleman's agreement with these items. It looks like CNZ's going to push straight on in. Sadly misses out on that last crucial rail shot, but he's actually come back again here. CNZ's still just biding his time above ground and just going to go for the Mega instead. But so is ZenAku. ZenAku's has already gone there. They both had the same Decisions, and that was a great round to clean up ZenAku again, making that 3-0.
And that is one of the advantages that Nyx has over Slash on this map. Slash is incredibly strong because of how fast she is, but that wall jump gives you so much verticality. Very useful to dodge rockets and also to keep control of the railgun. Now, ZenAku, of course, a pro player, has no issues making those jumps with Slash, just getting that speed to work with. So he does secure himself a railgun with relative ease as well, but CNZ definitely has the easier time keeping a hold of such a critical weapon.
Still plenty of time for ZenAku to come back in this matchup. He's got the stack, he's got the speed. Just a matter of how he's going to use it. But CNZ, again, just biding his time, just trying to get a bit of chip damage if he can. That'd be good. That's the first one, but he also got railed in the back straight afterwards. Going to use that ghost walk just for extra insurance. But still, though, ZenAku's playing this well. Just needs to bide his time. Eventually, he will be able to try and get back in this. But ZNZ's already taken a lot of damage. Is he going to go for the teeth? Yes, he does. But ZenAku can go back through. He does some good rocket damage overall. Both players with a similar stack. And it looks like CNZ will not be able to pick up this Mega.
That's 150 damage in 2 defensive rockets. It's definitely going to make ZenAku reconsider his assault. Even though he has the upper hand, he's the one landing those rails more consistently than CNZ now, and he has the bigger stack to work with. Rotation is also perfectly in his favor. 10 seconds between the items gives him all the time he needs to move from one to the other. But look at CNZ. He's being so evasive, making good use of that ghost walk, also keeping close tabs on the hourglasses to reduce the time between his abilities. And he is just waiting for ZenAku to make a mistake, slowly crawling around these corners. Oh, but that is not the mistake that he was waiting for. ZenAku dives in head first, gets himself the first frag of the map.
I did not expect the first frag to go like that, contesting the heavy there, and then ZenAku's just going to push straight forward though. Perfectly understandable, considering the advantage he had. Only on 60 HP, but he'll be picking up the Mega and the Light, so not really too much of an issue. With CNZ directly below him at the moment, and the question is CNZ? No, he's not. It looks like he was thinking about it at one stage, but decided to pick up the Light instead, and just let ZenAku have all the items. And ZenAku's had the items for quite a while now. Just looking at it so far, CNZ has picked up only 2 of the major items, 14 lights, and ZenAku's had 14 of the items so far.
CNZ, incredibly patient right there, holding on to his ghost walk, perhaps a little too patient, ends up paying the iron price. Oh, ZenAku, so aggressive, and CNZ still holding on to the ghost walk. Lethal, that's 2 frags now that he could have escaped by using that ability, but he's just hanging on to it, and it does make you wonder, should he have popped it? Is it worth it? He's using it now just before Mega, but I don't think he will be able to. Oh no, he just steals it just in time. That was smooth.
That was literally perfect timing, wasn't it, Felipe, to pick
was.
that up? And we're talking about the decisions on using that ghost walk, but then he used it at the perfect time then. ZenAku still takes him out though, with a great stack to continue to work with. And again, just continuing to be on the hunt, making CNZ's life an absolute misery here with a great rail to finish things off. And now, going to see exactly how he's going to approach CNZ once again. Picks up the Mega, items are segregated, which means ZenAku is going to be loving life right now, going towards that heavy.
I'm definitely puzzled as to what CNZ's strategy is when it comes to the Ghost Walk. That's 3 frags now, Lethal, that he has dropped while he had the Ghost Walk ready to go. And now there's definitely something to be said about not using the Ghost Walk when you're a few points away from dying and you know that there's a real good chance that you're going to end up dropping that anyways, even if you can escape that one fight. But I don't feel like it was always such a situation. It does seem like there were times where he could have popped it, restacked, and gotten out. But instead, he's lost 3 frags.
Yeah, I do agree to a certain extent, because it was a little bit strange. But Look at the stack CNZ has. Oh, and that missed jump as well. I was going to say it's going to cost him, but do you know what? It's probably done him a favour here. That one, I always say that on the odd occasion, someone makes an accidental good play, but that was a great example of it. The fact that he made out he was going to go up top, misses the jump. Oh, maybe he did that on purpose. We don't know. But again, CNZ was a good play from him, taking advantage of the matter. ZenAku now looking to try and back away. CNZ looking to pick up the heavy. And could be making a comeback here. Still only one frag between the two. 3 minutes left. And still CNZ is on the hunt with that Ghost Walk coming up in the next 20 seconds.
Oof. Don't think that was intentional by ZenAku, hitting that pillar. Killed his own momentum, stopped him from making a push on the Mega. He's still railable. He's got to be so careful because we know how hard CNZ's been hitting with that weapon. 60% rail for both of these players. But the weapon doesn't come into play in that fight at all. That was just a messy brawl right up close. Rockets at point blank range. And it does allow CNZ to tie things back up. That was sick! ZenAku knew exactly what he was going for right there. He knew just how weak his opponent was. Read his movements perfectly, using that health bubble, the small armor as bait. And then the rail to secure him. One frag of a lead once again.
Read him like a book. Absolutely love it. And ZenAku's going to be happy with this lead because he knows at some stage CNZ is going to have at least a couple of Ghost Walks we can potentially use aggressively here. It's just a matter of how and when. Mega picked up for ZenAku now. He's going to be looking for at least a 2 frag lead to finish this map out if he can extend his lead. As CNZ extremely weak at the moment. CNZ gets a very important rail just to add a little bit of chip damage here, but ZenAku again picking up the heavy. Now he's able to try and get away, but gets hit by another rail. So these rails from CNZ is so important in order to try and claw his way back. And the Mega's up going to be in the next 2 seconds. Again, CNZ with another great rail. And ZenAku's going to have to re-rotate back around. And I'm not too sure if he'll pick up the heavy here. He may even just leave it, considering the position he's in.
Once again, a solid rail. 1 minute left to go. CNZ, all he needs to do is force out one good engagement against ZenAku, but those rails, they hurt so much when you're a light champion and you don't have that much stack to work with in the first place. Again, they're trading, and that ends up favoring ZenAku because he's the one who can just plus back. He can play it slow, but no! Just a little too long of a hover. Catches too much airtime, and CNZ will punish him for it.
No.
Surely the Estonian will find the frag. Oh, it's a trade! It's a trade! ZenAku is still 1 point in the lead. CNZ gets the better spawn though, right at the heavy, but can he find him in 20 seconds? Slash is oh so fast, and CNZ, he doesn't have the opportunity to go for the rail. That's been a critical weapon so far.
But he does have that Ghost Walk if you use it aggressively to try and catch him out. But will he be able to? Yes, he does. He's going to try and use it to avoid the trail. Will he expect it, though? 5 seconds left as he tries to push on forward. But will he be able to catch him? No, he will not. The mobility is just way too much. And I must give props to ZenAku, considering the position he was in down below, but that bottom Mega area. Ferrari peeking for dear life around that point, just trying to survive and try and get as much damage as possible. And in the end, getting the trade, which is not just an important trade, but it was the trade he probably so desperately required.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that that was really the best that ZenAku could have hoped for, because CNZ should have been able to walk away with the frag right there. And if he had, this might have been an entirely different result. Gets the frag, manages to pick up the health bubble, the small armor, Mega not too long afterwards. That could have really set CNZ up to tie the maps all together. But no, ZenAku gets the trade, gets a good spawn, and then manages to evade his opponent for the final 20 to 30 seconds. So that means that ZenAku will be our overall victor of this series. But of course, we always play all matches because every game is a money match, and there's still quite a few bucks left to be earned.
And strategy and all that malarkey aside, did you see the aim skill from them two as well? 62% rail from ZenAku and 65% of course for CNZ. It just shows both of them were at each other's throats with those rails, and not basically just make it look easier to a certain degree, considering some of the shots they had to hit. It was not something you normally see. With two light champions, especially on Blood Covenant like that, normally get 30s, 40s if you're lucky, maybe 50s if you're playing absolutely out of your mind. But the fact that they were both playing a very heavy rail game just to try and get the extra chip in order to try and counteract each other, to try and go for those items as well, was just massive. And I think at one point ZenAku must have had, I think I'm trying to mention that, I think it was like 14 items at one stage to CNZ only having 2, just literally just doing everything he could to make sure that CNZ was having, well, just being in a world of trouble in that instance. But we're going to the third map now to see exactly if ZenAku can make it a clean sweep, or if CNZ can maybe at least claw a map back. But I'm pretty happy with what I've seen from CNZ so far. It's just the consistency towards the end of some of his maps.
Yeah, again, he started off really strong, right? Getting the lead. I think he was 3-0 up, maybe 4-1 at a certain point, but then it all started falling apart. And I think that that's a pretty consistent theme with CNZ, right? He gets out of the gate really aggressively, gets himself quite a few nice frags, but then he is unable to just keep it up for the remainder of the game. And I also really liked seeing just how ZenAku approached those final few minutes, because he was really checking his corners toward the end. I don't know if you've noticed, but there were so many times where ZenAku jumps around the corner and he places a rocket to the left or to the right, and he actually got CNZ a few times like that, blindly shooting a rocket around the corner. For example, at the top of the bounce pad near rockets, he got himself a very nice rocket that actually sent CNZ falling back down, and that is because ZenAku has now caught on to how CNZ is playing this. When CNZ is behind, he tends to just set up, no sound cues whatsoever, just wait for the opponent to come around, and then out of nowhere come the rockets, come the rails, comes the LG catch. And so ZenAku is now prepared for that, and I wonder if CNZ is going to try and change things up for the final map.
Yeah, in terms of adaptation, yeah, I completely agree with ZenAku and what you were saying as well. Just reading him really well in terms of the rocket placements he's trying to make. And it's like you said, though, normally when you've got an opponent who's reading you like that, it makes you think to yourself, what do you need to do? Something drastic needs to happen in order for you to even just claw back a map. And it's about consistency as well to a certain degree here for the likes of CNZ, because from what we've seen on Corrupted Keep and on Blood Covenant, it's been looking really, really solid. Like, don't get me wrong, this first half of that match of a Blood Covenant for CNZ was a real struggle, especially with the mobility of the Slash in order to collect these items with barely any segregation at all. And it was a bit unfortunate at times with some of the engagement being made, but even that trap which ZenAku placed on that bottom mega as he was going to go for the light and the and one of the bubbles as well was just absolutely ridiculous. But we're going to go to our third and final map of this first series of the day between ZenAku and CNZ. ZenAku, if you're just joining us, is coming up 2-0. Looking to try and make it a clean sweep if he can. And will he be able to, though? We'll have to see. It's now just the way he can just go back around. Heavy and Mega, not really too much in terms of the timings here, but just standing his ground for now around that rail area.
Well, we've started off on ZenAku's perspective, showing off some of that backwards air control movement. We don't have Vu in the competitive scene anymore, so ZenAku has to step up. It's also something that Maxter quite enjoys doing from time to time. Oh, that would have been a big rocket. Fortunately, he just clips the edge. Now, neither player really getting the upper hand yet. No one looking to go in full aggressive. Just trying to feel up the situation a bit. Hoping to get that one good rocket, that combo with a rail, gets a little bit of an upper hand over the opponent. Because so far this has been a very calculated, very disciplined start.
Yeah, both players trying to create that decision tree rather. I say that though, he's coming very aggressively, and will he be able to clean up? He doesn't, but can ZenAku get away with the heavy? Should be able to here. It looks like the Mega is still up, and he was a little bit tempted to go for that Mega, but playing it safe. And it's going to let CNZ get it for now. So stacks almost equal. ZenAku now does have that light. He wants to use it here. Didn't really want to give away his position, but just standing his ground top mid. And this is exactly what you need to do. Just rely on his audio cues here and decide how you want to go about pressuring your opponent here. But all comes out. He actually decides to use it in the end. I'm not really too sure, and still managed to get that Mega. Good direct. 1 HP in a dream. And the dream was successful. Now up 1-0. That was ridiculous.
Nicely timed from CNZ as well, using the orb just as ZenAku fired his railgun, so it gave him the time to at least get his footing and not immediately get punished massively for it with spit and rockets as a combo. But ultimately, That is an extremely aggressive, extremely risky play, even in the best of circumstances. 1 point of health is what separated these players in that engagement. But it was ZenAku coming out on top. Looking solid to take this one as well, but hang on, his aim just fails him completely. The LG loses his tracking. And that is CNZ tying it up 1-1, but ZenAku is definitely in better shape right now. He's got rockets, he's got heavy railgun to work with. I like the play from CNZ though, just flashing the LG right there. Aiming, pre-aiming even around the corner, just signaling to ZenAku, you don't have this weapon. You can't fight me at the distance that you would have to. Don't even try rocket jumping on here because I will nail you to the wall. And that gave CNZ the breathing room that he needed to get away cleanly with the mech.
What an awful person, but it's fine. He understands what he has to deal with here. And of course, without the LG, it's going to be a pretty tough task contesting this heavy if CNZ approaches it, but it looks like he's not going to. But yeah, the LG is so important to the weapons in his arsenal currently. Assuming that he may just try and flank and rotate round, but that does mean he's also giving his position away. But I like this from ZenAku as well. He's in a position where the LG isn't too effective. And even if it is, I mean, he can back away nicely. Nice. Good direct as well. Yep. And could he be able to finish with the rail? He does not. Decides to get the Mega first. Heavy's up next. He could just push for this straight away. But again, all about the patience, biding the time as well. And even though he orbs down, he does pick up the Heavy. But will CNZ be able to get out? Yes, he does.
CNZ is mad. He had 100 points of health. 0 armor. He's up against a fully stacked Sorlag, and he's just like, you know what, let me use my ability to get in on the heavy, and it somehow works out for him. And that was way too close of a fight. ZenAku should have been able to steamroll that one, but the LG, or rather the Lagdarov, has pained him for most of this game. He can't get out. The LG will still find Sorlag's head. And that gives CNZ the opportunity to tie it up 2-2. This is a tremendous game of back and forth, Lethal.
Yeah, it's been a close affair, to be fair, on every single matchup so far this series, hasn't it? And again, nothing short of spectacular. Just at the 5-minute mark, CNZ's going to have that slight stack advantage. Looking to see what he can find. Does need those rockets, though. And it's going to back away and to see if he can delay the heavy a little bit more in order to help the segregation just a tad, considering he's the one with the stack advantage. But ZenAku does have that top mid control. Good use of the tri-bolt there. And then again, CNZ did good work with the chip on that last round also. They're just expecting him, daring him to come through here. Don't really take too much from the tri-bolt, which means that CNZ can go in as he sees fit, and is in a great position to not only contest this heavy, but maybe to go in for the kill as well.
Lethal, I just had to do a bit of a double take. CNZ was at 9% railgun accuracy. Now he's up to 14, but what is this? Just last map, he was hitting 60-something% against a slash, and now against Sorlag, he's fired, what, over 20 shots? Barely hit 3 of them. That is not the way that he wanted this game to go, and I think that is severely affecting his battle plan. It's giving ZenAku so much room to maneuver that he shouldn't have. I think that if CNZ had landed more of those rails, this would be a very different game, but he is going to drop a frag nevertheless. Quick thinking, quick on his feet, ZenAku is. Rocket jumping up, closing the gap. And at an opportune time as well, Mega's about to spawn. Oh, ZenAku now wishes he had positioned himself a bit further out into the room, because he had the better stack to secure the Mega there as well, but now he's had to give it up to CNZ.
Even with that last engagement as well, though, he took way too much damage, dropping down whilst ZenAku had LG in hand. And yeah, it's maybe been CNZ's decision, really, as well as his aim skill to boot, but he's going to do as much as he can here, but the question is, can ZenAku get away, though? As he has done for now. Oh, and the rail comes out from CNZ from below, from that heavy machine gun area. Will he be able to take him out? Yes, he does. You knew he was tanking that last rail, but does get the Mega to try and recuperate and tie the lead here. But look at the stack from ZenAku here. Well, was a stack.
Was a stack. Very solid comment indeed. ZenAku taking a lot of damage in that engagement. Now Mega will be the next major item that both of these players will contest. We're always getting the same fight. ZenAku over on the railgun side of the map, CNZ coming from LG. But CNZ has been playing this so aggressively. ZenAku is just giving up so much ground to his opponent. Again, CNZ is just gonna rocket an orb in there. Will drop because of that final rail. And I don't know how I feel about that. CNZ. I guess maybe it has something to do with his rail failing him this map. He wants to get up close and personal because he can't compete when it comes to those long distance engagements, but there's such a risk involved in it. And now he's trailing with less than 2 minutes left to go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, Flea. It's a little bit weird, but look at the stack difference as well. ZenAku's just holding on for dear life at this point. 90 seconds left. But with the Sorlag, ZenAku can definitely go about doing this without an issue here. Good use of the rail as well, and the spit, but good LG damage also. That was huge for ZenAku here to try and at least seal this 3-0 in the series here. Picks up the Mega just in the nick of time. ZenAku doesn't want to risk it. I'm sure CNZ does. Will he be able to, though? It looks like a few missed or failed rockets there will help ZenAku get away, though. Stacks a little bit equal here, but that rail could change things, but sadly does miss. But ZenAku's in a great spot. 2 frag lead, top mid control, hits that last rail just to even the stack advantage again. This is where ZenAku's got to be quite decisive in what he wants to do. He got caught with his trousers down just at the wrong time and the wrong point. 45 seconds left, and look at this, got the Mega also, which means for CNZ, this is easily doable for him to try and make a comeback. Never mind.
2 point blank. That's around 240 points of damage to the face. CNZ murdered. He felt he had ZenAku on the ropes, and in a way he did. But these orbs, lethal. I really don't know about that. He's been so aggressive. I don't think he's ever used the orb defensively or evasively or to try and juke his opponent out. It's always just been full aggression, but he has a chance. 10 seconds left to go. The only problem is his stack. And he won't be able to find ZenAku on time. And I think that makes it, what, the 3rd game in a row where it comes down to a single frag? GG's indeed. Maestro ZenAku will clean this one up, but 3-0 in terms of maps says very little about how close of a series this was.
Yeah, the accuracy for CNZ heavily let him down. You can see from there as well. I don't understand how you can have 65% against a Slash, and then against, you know, one of the more beefier champions in terms of Sorlag just struggled a little bit. I don't know if it's because he didn't have the angles, but then again, he held his position quite well. For some of the times he tried to at least attempt to do some chip damage, but couldn't get anything going, which is just really peculiar. But also some of the decisions he made, like some of the drops he tried to make onto the items, some of the unorthodox aggression, you could say, is not something we really expected. I think both of us were just kind of debating what was going on here, but you guys can see the accuracy for yourselves here. ZenAku 57% with the LG, 54% with the rail also here, which is definitely a way of telling the tale of what occurred here in this matchup.
CNZ did manage to bump his railgun accuracy back up to 32%, but at one point, lethal, just 9% with that weapon after 20 shots fired. You cannot afford to play like that against a Sorlag at this level of competition. And as you said, indeed, CNZ, the basis is there, the fundamentals, the technical part of the game, it is so solid, but sometimes the decision making indeed just lets him down. And we started off talking about this even on map 1, right? Some of the pushes with nothing but machine gun on the Mega, back on Corrupted Keep, dropping down on the Heavy, again on Corrupted Keep, right? Same thing, Blood Covenant pushing blindly onto the Heavy, getting punished for it. And now too with these orbs, if you use your orb as Ranger to get onto the Heavy, where do you go from there? You have nothing left in terms of movement or evasion, and you are a sitting duck. So I do think that at times CNZ overstayed his welcome, was too aggressive, and yeah, ended up giving some free frags up, and ZenAku ended up making the best of them.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame. We saw it at least 5-6 times at the bare minimum throughout the entire course of the series. There's taking risks, but those risks were just, I wouldn't say obvious, but it was just too blatant of a move for some of the opponents to be able to capitalize on straight away. ZenAku put it on a number of occasions, probably thought, he's giving me a frag here for free. Like, what's like? He probably doesn't understand what else going on after time with some of those situations here. But it did look like that from, I'm sure, the viewer's point of view and our point of view as well at the same time. But yeah, a little bit bizarre, but a great series nonetheless. Obviously, like you said already, each one was one frag difference between all three maps. And we are going to go to our second match after the break between the likes of Maxter and Cy Gibbs. So don't go anywhere, as we'll be back in just a few moments.